Welcome to Executive Points of View. I'm Joe Marking. We're here today to talk about a pretty hot topic, Grant, blockchain. Everybody's talking about this thing, and I don't think we have a lot of clarity still on this.
Well, I think, Joe, let's start by understanding what blockchain is at its root. And to me, as an executive, I think the keys to remember about blockchain are it's really a technology ecosystem designed to verify trust in a situation where that trust can be questioned.
Right.
And so getting a little bit more practical from that, obviously the best instance of blockchain that we have today is in Bitcoin.
It's in Bitcoin, right.
And it's in the passing of actual, digital monetary value tokens from one party to another, and making sure that as I pass to you, I can't take that same digital representation of a monetary value and pass it to someone else or use it for someone else. And when I pass it to you, it creates a record that everyone else can see that we exchanged. Yes.
Now, the challenge that I see in it is I get asked every day, and now Bitcoin is a big concept that's out there, and the ancillary supporting infrastructure is blockchain. And almost a week never goes by when people are asking me, how are you going to apply blockchain within your enterprise? And to use our terminology, it seems like there's a lot of wake that's being created in another industry, far from us, but it's having repercussions and it's taking cycles out of our executives.
Yeah.
And that's the area that I find challenging, because I find myself having to deal with items on my docket that deal with blockchain, but there aren't any real use cases yet within my enterprise that where it can be applied.
Yeah, for sure. And again, let's go back to what it is. In a system or a set of processes where we don't have trust inherent, or we question that trust, or we question the potential for duplicitous transactions or invalid transactions, or frankly bad threat actors.
Right.
In most of our business dealings, we imply that trust, or we give it. So even in a banking scenario, I trust that my dollars are going to be there when I need them.
Right.
And I trust that I'm going to be accountable to spend on something once and only once.
Right.
With the resources I have. In your example, what we're really looking for in the corporate sense and the executive sense are use cases where we have that inherent question.
Yes, I think that's key.
Yeah.
I think that's key. If you don't have you can use blockchain to do very simple things that you don't need blockchain for. And I think that's the risk, where we can say we're going to apply blockchain technology into problems that we've already solved a long time ago, and we don't need to revisit. But it's fancy and it's new and it's shiny, so we're going to use it.
Yep.
But there are some areas around trust issues, the trust areas you talk about. That's where, if you have those kinds of problems, if you deal in those kinds of markets, that's where you can start, trying to really see if there's a use for you. But for many of us, I think there is a lot of wake within industry associated with that's taking up a lot of time.
Yeah, this is not some ERP system. It's not a CRM. It's not an HCM. This is not some just database that you can go and implement. I think if you venture into this space, you are in essence saying, I have a scenario or scenarios that I inherently either don't trust or am going to be in a position where I need to show transparency. I need to show, hey, this transaction happened.
Right.
Here's the encryption key for it. And I need everyone else in the system that participates to see that happened.
And I think that's where, if those are kind of qualities to the types of problems that you're dealing with. So if you don't have an outside consortium, if you're not dealing with a broad ecosystem where you're distrusting of the information that's being exchanged, if you're not dealing with those things, then you might not have a blockchain use case or a simple blockchain. And I'm very careful about blockchain, because we don't know 48, 64 months from now, there could be some big changes that happen where use cases can apply to us, but I'm looking more at the 18 to 24 month horizon kind of scenario.
Sure, I think there's definitely some long-term wake and ramifications with blockchain, with Bitcoin, with other cryptocurrencies. It's definitely front and center, and I think there is a future for it. I'm just saying in today's business and technical world, I think we're trying to figure out use cases for a concept
Right.
that is pretty specialized at the moment.
Right.
And it's not universal yet, and I don't think we as companies and executives are quite ready to put the kind of investment in that
agree.
would be necessary to really take advantage of this type of paradigm that blockchain represents.
Blockchain probably right now does not fit into everybody's tool bag, into every executive's tool bag. I think there's a few executives who can make use of it right now. Maybe in 5 years, 48, 64 months from now, maybe more of us will have it in the tool bag, but there's a lot of work that has to happen before that happens, I think.
So what do you think we should do with this concept in the meantime?
I think that we should keep it within our realm, within C-suites and probably R&D departments, and try to make sure that we don't get overexcited around use cases that are not applicable. I think we can spend a lot of time. We can spin our wheels a lot on this when we have a lot of other real initiatives that we have to solve problems within our enterprise for. And it's easy to become enamored with it. It's new, it's sleek, everybody's talking about it. There's a lot of lights and a lot of sizzle with it, but sometimes you have to focus on the real, mundane work of just keeping your business running.
Well, and I know some people have mentioned it, but I don't think it's mentioned enough. There's actually some environmental challenges with the actual processing of these blockchain transactions now, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think certainly if you are encrypting blocks, then you need computing power, and you're using power. So you're using electricity, you need cooling, you need HVAC, you have all those considerations around, refrigerants, power, electricity, footprints of data center space, those kinds of things. So if you are going to go down the road of, deploying a large, wide-scale blockchain solution, I think you need to be mindful from a broader data center consideration of saying, is it worth it to our companies, to all the parties that don't share trust? Is this the best way for us to solve this problem? And let's be mindful about the environmental considerations of it.
It's hard to not think about what those resources could be put towards instead of GPUs and instead of that type of hypercomputing processing that's needed in the wake and the waste that generates.
There's a lot of biomedical research that's going on right now. We're really starting to understand the human genome and really work with it. And there's a lot of valuable research that needs to be conducted. All those CPUs can be applied to those kinds of real world problems versus, I'm not discounting the value of Bitcoin as a currency. I just think that from a blockchain perspective, we have to be careful what problems we choose as a society to solve using Bitcoin, if there are alternatives that are just as good or just as robust, that don't require that kind of computing power.
Yeah, well said, Joe. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Executive Points of View.
Thanks, everyone.